It's about looks, it's about you, it's about feeling new. It's about clothes, it's about style, it's about what's worthwhile. It's about all those things you wanted to learn but didn't have a clue. The how-tos, tricks, and tips that make it work for you. It's about health, it's about work, it's about you. It's about looks, it's about life, it's about you.
Hello, I'm Edie Locke, editor of You Magazine, and welcome to this Model of the Month edition on star model Carol Auld. She was our first cover girl 3 years ago when You Magazine first began, worked way into the night on a Sunday, so we're all quite sentimental about Carol. A top model then, she's a top model now, and her success still on the rise. And add to that a fiancé who's as famous in his field as she's in hers, Ron Greschner of New York Rangers hockey fame. You'll share Carol's beauty secrets, their fitness routine together, their future plans, and get to know what it's like to be a famous New York couple.
Carol Auld and Ron Greschner, their life now and plans for the future. A daily fitness routine for two, a fast-paced workout for Carol and Ron. A makeup lesson from a superstar model. Carol and Ron in fall clothes that suit their lifestyle.
A superstar model, a superstar athlete, Carol Auld and New York Ranger hockey star Ron Greschner talk about their simple life, beyond the public eye.
When I first started modeling 4 years ago, I was much younger. So I could go out all night if I wanted to party or go to Studio 54 because Studio was hot. After about 2 weeks, the novelty wore off. And the only reason I even had that 2 weeks of going crazy was because my parents were very strict when I was younger, and I wasn't allowed to go out, so I was feeling my freedom. I was allowed to go out and come home anytime I wanted to. There was nobody there to say, you have to be home. So for about 2 weeks, I went crazy. I went out all night and everything. And then I said, this is crazy. You see the same people over and over again at every bar you go to. You see the same people at Studio, you see them in restaurants. I said, I'm not meeting anybody new. I'm not really even having that much fun because I come home, I'm tired and I'm grouchy the next day. It really wasn't worth it. I always tended to prefer to have a quiet dinner with friends or a dinner party with some girlfriends at a restaurant. And I stayed pretty quiet after my first 2 weeks of going nuts. Ronnie and I met at a restaurant up on 3rd Avenue and 84th Street. I was told that we had met a couple times before, but neither one of us remembers that we had met. So I guess the official meeting is at a restaurant called Orrin and Aretsky's on 3rd Avenue, 84th Street. A friend of ours, a mutual friend, owns the restaurant, and he had been giving me tickets to go and see hockey games, and I'm not much of a hockey fan, so I used to try to give them away or try and find somebody that I knew who liked hockey. So I used to take my sister all the time, drag my poor sister to the games. And finally one night, Kenny, he's the restaurant owner, said, well, do you want to meet the guy whose tickets you've been using? I said, well, I think maybe I should buy him a drink or something to thank him for the tickets. And I wouldn't let Kenny leave the table. I said, but you better stay here because I'm not sitting here alone. So Kenny said, okay. So we invited Ronnie up, and Ronnie wouldn't come up to the table. He refused to come up for a drink. So finally I went down to him and I said, look, all I want to do is buy you a drink. Would you at least tell me if you're going to come or not so I can go home to bed because I've got to work tomorrow. So about 20 minutes later, after they pulled this big crane in and dragged him off of the front jukebox, he came up to the table and sat down. And I had hot water and lemon. And what did you have?
A beer and a cigarette.
Oh yeah, a beer and a cigarette. And I made him put out a cigarette. So he said, well, she doesn't drink, she doesn't smoke, so she must be okay. He didn't like models, that was the problem. He wouldn't come up and talk to me because he didn't like models.
I had met a few, first couple of years I was in New York, and after that, I met lots of them were pretty wild and stuff, so I never really, I wanted to stay away from it. And I was like, I like very quiet things, I don't like to go out very much, and I stay home a lot, and I like to go to bars, but just to have dinner and restaurants and stuff, so I like too wild a life. So all of a sudden I met her, and she doesn't drink, she doesn't smoke, she doesn't stay out very late. And here I am now, stuck with her. But I'm happy.
This is actually the first year that Ronnie's going to be traveling and I'm going to be working. Last year he was injured, so he really wasn't traveling with the team. But we decided this year that we'd sit down at the beginning of the season when he gets his schedule, and he'll tell me what days he's traveling and for how long he's traveling. And from there, I know what trips I can take, which trips come in, and how many days will be apart. Because as far as I'm concerned, I really don't want to spend too much time away from him. When we first met, we had different interests. I had my interests. I liked horses, and I liked fixing up my apartment, and I was always fixing things around here. I call it putzing. I'm a major putzer. It's my relaxation. I fix things around the house. I have a cuckoo clock on the wall that broke, and I took it apart one night on the floor for 4.5 hours. I worked on this cuckoo clock, and I play guitar, and I work out, and I ride on my bike, and I love music, and I invested my money here and there and did little things. And when I met Ronnie, he had his interests. He liked roller skating. He used to roller skate up and down First Avenue and all around town. And he skates, of course. And
Which you also do now.
well, now I do it too. That's what I meant. We grow together. Because now I ice skate, and he bicycle rides with me. And he tried to pick up guitar, but that sort of went out the window. Yeah. And we invested in a horse farm. And then Ronnie has invested in a couple racehorses with me, so we've got our racehorses, and hopefully we'll put them out on the farm. And I think that we've sort of become very settled and domesticated. So much for famous couples, right? Wild jet setting out on the town every night? No, we're pretty much homebodies.
Coming up next, a fun way to work out that'll tempt you to join in.
Like brushing teeth, a 1 or 2 hour workout is part of the daily routine for Carol and Ron, even if it has to be after a full day's work and a late evening out.
Well, usually when we exercise, it's right in the middle of the living room. We push all the couches out of the way and move all the vases and everything, and we make this big space on the floor. And Ronnie does his thing, and I do my thing, and we both do it at the same time. It's basically how it happens. I do usually aerobics. Put on the loudest, fastest music I can find, and I just stretch out and do my thing in the middle of the floor. And Ronnie does his thing.
Yeah, I stretch out for maybe 10 to 20 minutes to start, and then I do anywhere from 15 to 25 minutes on the bike. And then I do most of my exercises are all stretching for hamstring muscles and back muscles and stomach muscles. That's about my routine. It takes about an hour and 20 minutes.
When I first started modeling, I was 30 pounds overweight, and I had to lose weight fast. I had this great deal going with Italian Bazaar that if between the 1st of June and the 19th of July, if I lost 12 to 15 pounds, that they would take me to Rome. Oh, Rome was so exciting. I'd never been off Long Island. So I went on a major crash diet. And I ate 1 salad a day for that time, and continued on for about 3 months. And I really did a lot of damage to my system. I became hypoglycemic and anemic and all the rest of this stuff. And finally I said, this is crazy. I said, I have to eat something or go to a doctor and get myself on a really good diet. So I went to see a nutritionist, and after he talked to me, I started studying up on nutrition and exercise and iridology and reflexology and just basic general health. I was an athlete in high school. I did just about everything. I did lacrosse and basketball and volleyball and what else do we have? Field hockey. And so I knew that I had long endurance. I didn't have speed. I have long legs, and I can't take those short, quick paces that you need for speed. But I had endurance. I could go and go and go and go forever.
I had an operation last summer, and I had 2 crushed discs, and they were pushing onto my sciatic nerve, so which I ended up in the hospital because my whole backbone shifted like 1/100th of an inch. It settled, it moved together, so I couldn't move at all. I couldn't. When I moved my eyes, my whole body went into muscle spasm. It was like that for about 2.5 months. So then after it all healed up, which it takes about 8 months to 10 months, but I was already trying to play like 6 months after. I was playing in games, which was really stupid. But I wanted to play really bad, so I went back and tried to play. And when it comes down to the exercises that I do are only geared for the part of my back that is sore now, is a part that joins the bottom of your backbone to your coccyx.
And exercising together keeps you going. Because when I feel like stopping, I still see him going, I want to keep going then, just to prove I can go longer than he can.
Carol Alt's makeup tips coming up next, right after this.
If Carol is absolutely beautiful without makeup, she's astounding with it. Those blue eyes are riveting. She's got her own way of applying her makeup, and lots of tips to pick up for all of us.
Usually when I do my makeup, I start with my eyes and I do the shadow and the liner and the mascara, and then from there I do a cover under my eyes and the base. So I think that the most important thing on the eye, even if you don't wear any makeup at all, you should always have a little bit of mascara. For some reason it just tends to open up your eye and make it look bigger. So I use a really thick mascara, black mascara. I think it's a little bit more dramatic. And then I go to pencil, and I do a little bit of pencil just right here, close to the eyelashes, and underneath the lashes. So it makes it a little bit more open and more dramatic. That line just makes the eyelashes stand out a little bit more. The next thing I do is I take a brown, I like browns, or a dark green around my eyes. This way here, I make a V shape coming from underneath my eye and above my eye. That draws your eye outwards. The next thing I do is I take a lighter color, maybe a peach or a pink or something along those lines, and I come in right in here. And that makes the eye look more open also, so it doesn't close in on your nose. For evening, it's nicer to have a little bit of a sparkly color in there. Then I use a cover-up under my eyes. Patting it in gently. I sometimes mix my base with a little bit of moisturizer, because if it's a water base, it can be a little bit drying. As soon as the water evaporates out of it, you're left with nothing but cake on your face. And when you're under lights for long hours, the lights can take the moisture right out of your base, spreading it evenly all over your face. Especially around the nose. On the bridge of the nose, it tends to get more sun than other parts of your face, and on your chin. And I do the blush before I do the powder, because if you make a mistake with your blush, you can always blend it over with a powder. If you put it on too thick or unevenly, you can always erase it with a powder without ending up putting too much powder on. So I go right under the eye, high on the cheekbone with a light color. Followed underneath by a little bit of a more dramatic, darker color, so it brings out your cheekbones more. And I finish off blending my eyeshadow with my blusher right up underneath the eyebrow and drawing it out into my temple. Followed by along the jawline, very lightly. Just so that if you're in a heavy light, a white light especially, it separates your chin from your neck. Most people put their powder on with a powder puff. I like a big brush. It just seems to spread more evenly all over. First, I line the lip with a lip pencil. If you want your lips to look a little bit thicker, it's best to go along the outer edge of your lip, not the inner edge. I use a lipstick pencil just to keep my lipstick from running. Then I use a lipstick brush to fill in the rest of my lip. Smearing and blending with the line that I just drew on. Blotting off any excess. And then I do once over for last check with powder. Make sure there's no excess shine. And that's it.
Carol and Ron in some easy country and city clothes for fall, next.
Like many working couples, Carol and Ron's life is part Manhattan, part escape into real country, and their wardrobe must reflect that lifestyle. Clothes like these suit both: a stroll on the New York City street by the river or a walk in the woods. An easy tweed coat over a rugged, thick sweater and flannels. A tweedy cape flung over a cotton shirt and khaki pants, and a big muffler wrapped and trailing. Pants tucked into heavy socks and work boots look terrific and work, whether on city streets or in the country. Ron's clothes are by Jean Pressman and Lance Karash for Basco. Carol's from British Khaki by Robert Leighton. And that tweedy cape or poncho is a great wrap-up to own and wear layered over all sorts of sweaters, pants, and skirts. Country clothes, rugged and very snappy, long shorts in corduroy, gray knee socks, and neat Oxfords. A terrific black canvas hunting vest full of pockets over a cabled sweater and a striped shirt. The kind of great sporty pieces by British Khaki that can work so many ways in one's wardrobe. Mix with and snap up lots of other turnouts. Bright pumps, bright tights coming out from under a full sweep of long skirt and a high-cropped cardigan sweater. A signature look this fall from Perry Ellis. A plaid shirt stock-tied under it. Ron's tweedy, easy walking jacket, plaid shirt, and V-neck sweater are all by Perry Ellis menswear. And that short Shetland cardigan meets the top of the skirt, and that high-rise skirt hugs the body from rib cage to below the hip with tiny side buttons, plays up a small middle, and somehow elongates the figure. In close-up, two great-looking young people. A fountain in a New York City courtyard and Carol's city and country turnout from Anne Klein too. Affordable and season-spanning as well. That easy blazer jackets in gray sweatshirting fabric over a turtleneck sweatshirt. Lean leather skirt and suede boots. 3 pieces useful separately or as a total look. A nailhead-studded black leather belt wrapped twice and resting on the hip bone. And you'll find that lots of belts are worn low this fall and look very snappy. And speaking of snaps, that lean leather skirt snaps all the way down to meet the bright-cuffed suede boots. A very cityfied Carol in black and white with flashes of strong color, a chiffon scarf, a pocket hanky, bright gloves. A houndstooth check pea jacket meticulously tailored and combined with a slim short skirt in dark gray and white window pane. A turnout typical Calvin Klein panache. Legs in black shears, high-heeled strappy shoes. And under the jacket, the kind of black silk shirt you'll want to wear with everything. And you can get a lot of fashion mileage out of that classic pea jacket. Great versatility going on here. There are dressy nights in Carol's and Ron's life, black tie but simple. His white flannel jacket from Perry Ellis's full men's collection. And Carol's Perry Ellis bare black wool dress with a madly swinging skirt in black and brown godets. One of the most flattering and charming evening looks around. And Carol's natural curls are swept up for nighttime with just one bobby pin. Private and proper, both in jackets, shirts, and ties, and terrific. Carol's in Calvin Klein's newsy navy sweater jacket, ivory silk shirt, perfect with gray flannels, and Ron's navy blazer and flannels are from Alfred Dunhill Tailors. And looks borrowed from men, such as shirts and ties, continue to be terrific on women, from one season to the next.
You Magazine will be back in a moment.
A model's life is really very demanding. Long hours, lots of travel, with very little time to rest in between. And yet she must stay healthy, always look terrific, cannot succumb to junk food or gain weight. So very often, the tips that you get from a top model are very much like a survival kit. I hope you've enjoyed sharing some of Carol Ald's and Ron Greschner's lives. Write to us at U Magazine, P.O. Box 5001, FDR Station, New York, New York 10150. And thanks for joining us, Carol and Ron.
Coming in next week's edition of You Magazine, some lively and informative features. Internationally famous hairstylist Jean-Louis David's new hairdos from Paris. Psychologist Dr. May-Britt Rosenbaum talks about midlife changes in a woman's life, the shifts in relationships with others and herself. Edie Locke talks with fashion creator Perry Ellis about his design projects beyond clothes and accessories for women and men. Designs for the home, for the bed, and the bath. And you'll see the most fabulous looks from Perry's fall collections as he explains the evolution of this season's clothes and the inspiration. A half hour filled with information and lovely clothes to look at awaits you. So be sure to watch next week's edition of You Magazine.